Good morning, everybody. There are a lot of different types of characters you can play in Dungeons and Dragons Online, and sometimes it can be difficult to figure out the one that you want to play. Like, for example, I like playing melee characters, I like playing spellcasters, but like when you're staring at the reincarnation screen or a new character screen and trying to figure out what melee character to play, do I want to play barbarian? Do I want to play fighter? Do I want to play paladin? Sometimes those decisions are a little bit too hard for me to figure out in the moment, which is exactly why there's a new tool on the market to help you figure all that stuff out. We've got the Dungeons and Dragons Online Class Randomizer, and the character you see before you has been created with the Class Randomizer. So, what is it? Basically, it's a tool that lets you reroll pretty much everything, or roll pretty much every aspect about your character's race, your character's class, the class combinations, what alignment your character is going to have, what if they're going to use universal trees, their starting stats, their ability scores, even their enhancement trees. It has so many fantastic pieces to it. And I've been using it a lot to make characters specifically for Hardcore League. Because when you're playing on Hardcore, what's more fun than playing a character that's randomly generated so you can't guarantee any of the stats, and then when it dies, you have to spend another 20 hours getting it back to where it was. Nothing is more fun than that, which is exactly why my character, right here before you, Melee Meta, has been designed with the DDO class randomizer and got all the way up to level 20. And it was a blast. The thing I like about using the randomizer is it gives me the ability to kind of test out things I normally wouldn't, or do class combinations I normally wouldn't. And you get to learn a lot. You get to learn a lot about the game and make some kind of different weird decisions while you level. But instead of like me just talking about it, how about I show you the class randomizer? So there is going to be a link for this in the description if you want to get access to the randomizer. So if it's something you want to try out, as I said, it's just a link right there. Just click it. Make sure you bookmark it. This is the class randomizer as far as I can tell going forward. So you've got options to displaying the names and stuff for the different classes and races. For me, I don't really need that, but if you're somebody who's not as familiar with them, you can obviously turn this on and off. There's also randomizing enhancement trees. You can turn this feature on and off in case you don't want to have anything to deal with your enhancement trees. We're going to leave it on for now. But this way, you get to select all the races you have. So let's say you're brand new to the game and you don't even know what to play. So you can just go, okay, turn them all off and go free races. Cool. These are the ones I own, and these are the ones I can play right away. Say you want to include iconics, whatever it is, or maybe you don't own a specific one. You can just turn off a couple things you don't own, and you're all set. Then we have the class selector. So you have, again, all of the free classes, the premium classes, and the archetypes. You can have them mix and match, depending on which ones you specifically want. The randomizer is good. It will not break your alignment. It will tell you to make a paladin barbarian. We did a lot of bug testing in the early days of this one. And by bug testing, I mean the person who made it, Mr. Dorak, who is responsible for this one. I basically just used it a lot on stream and caused it to crash repeatedly by clicking around, and he fixed the bugs that I found, which is pretty good. Then you can pick up your alignment. So let's say, even though you don't want to have all the alignments, you're like, I want to be a neutral character. It's never going to give you Paladin because Paladin can't be neutral, so it'll kind of axe that out of there if you don't want that. Then you can have your starting stats, 28 point, 32, 34, or 36. So depending on whether you're like a brand new character, you've got the veteran status, second life, or third life. Then universal trees. You can ask it to include the universal trees in your enhancement trees. You don't have to use it, so if you're not using the enhancement tree feature, you can kind of ignore this whole section. But for me, I can just select all. How many multi-classes you want. Let's say you're like, I don't want to be a pure class. The point of a randomizer is not to have a pure class. Let's get rid of it. You can take care of that. Or alternatively, you can be like, I don't know what to play next. So you can do one class and have it randomly pick one for you. You've got a lot of options there. Then you have ability score weighting. It'll actually give you your ability scores. And you can have it not weight, so it's just randomly generated. So let's say you get like Sorcerer, Bard, Paladin. All of those are charisma based. And then you click it and you have an 8 charisma. Hilarious. There's also stat weighting, where because you have Paladin, Bard, and Sorcerer, you're guaranteed to have a moderate charisma. It's usually not going to give you like a maxed out one, but you can do that. Or you can have it or based off either the main class or the classes combined. It has like a weighting system how it does it. And then with all the settings turned on, I click the button randomize, and boom, I got myself a chaotic neutral elf wizard who has a 14 intelligence and a 16 dex and a 14 charisma. Also, if you click Show Trees, it'll tell me, okay, 33 points in Eldritch Knight, 22 in Pale Master, 7 in Archmage, 9 in Harper Agent, 4 in Falconry, and 5 in the Elf Racial Tree. Now, again, you can follow as much of this as you want. The enhancement trees is a newer feature, so they're still working out, Mr. Dorek is still working out some of the kinks with this one. It has a problem where it basically won't take any capstones in trees. So even if you're playing as a pure class like this one, you won't take any capstones, which can obviously hinder you from going 1 to 20. So, that's a kind of an issue with the randomizer as of right now. But it's a very cool tool for rerolling stuff. The way I've been using it is basically I will, set most of the stuff. I'll be like, oh, apply stat weight based off of the classes, sort of thing. I'm a 32-point build. And then what I would do is I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so on the stream. And then I have people in my chat vote for it. So it's like, okay, we're going to play a lawful neutral half-orc cleric artificer with a 14 wisdom and a 12 intelligence. Damn, 12, 14, 14, 12, 14, 12. What a stat breakdown. This character is going to be fine. It's actually a reasonable inquisitive, which is funny. We got Chaotic Good, Gnome, Dark Hunter, Bard, Artificer. Very fun. Super high intelligence. Pretty good dex. Ooh, the 6 strength, though. I know it's a gnome, but like, oh god, that's a rough one. We have True Neutral, Dwarf, Dark Hunter, Blightcaster, Acolyte Skin. Kind of interesting, because you can combine some elements of Dark Hunter with the Blightcaster animal form. You could also go animal form, Acolyte of the Skin, Blaster, using Dark Hunter mostly for the traps, or you can go tier 5 of the Dark Hunter tree, picking up some like the good defensive bonuses. Maybe you get the instant kill attack in animal form. I don't know, but you have a high wisdom, so that's kind of your main stat here. Then we have Lawful Good, Half-Orc, Monk, Alchemist. Now, Monk Alchemist is surprising because it makes a reasonable Vistani. It also gives you poison damage bypass, because 2 levels of Alchemist gives you access to the Contaminated Strike. It gives you poison damage bypass. So maybe you could play a monk who's playing as a ninja spy, specifically, or a combination ninja spy and what's the dagger tree called? Vistani Knife Fighter, where you take the Sting of the Ninja, which does poison damage, but you can't bypass poison immunity unless you had 2 levels of Alchemist that lets you take the Contaminated Strike, that lets you bypass poison immunity with your kind of low charisma. Doesn't matter, but you got your intelligence, dex, you got some wisdom, you got some strength. Again, this is interesting, right? So now all of a sudden, my character has kind of interesting stats, and you can play around with it and see how you want to go. And of course, we have Wood Elf Paladin with strength, dex, and charisma, and everything else is in the negative. So overall, it's pretty cool, the builder, and you can make, or not the builder, but this tool, you can make all sorts of neat stuff. There's also, of course, the enhancement trees if you want to have that turned on. And like I said, it's really, really fun. You can make all sorts of random characters. When I make random characters for Hardcore League, I make a couple rules for myself personally. This is how I do my random character whenever I go through. Basically, number one, I think of as like getting to level 20 is always a success story. If I can push it to 30, maybe I will, but generally for me, getting to 20 is a success story for the most part. And number two, when it comes to universal trees, I try to ban myself from tier 5 of any universal tree and ban myself from the capstone of any universal tree. The reason for this is because no matter what character you get, all of these characters can be played as pretty good inquisitives. Like every single one of these makes a good inquisitive because they all have like a little bit of dexterity. So from where I sit, if I just have inquisitive as an option, I can always just take that as a tier 5 and capstone, and your character's going to be fine. And there's you're not really learning anything. So for me, I just say I can put points in the trees, but me personally, no tier 5s, no capstones. So that way you can invest in some of these, maybe get some bonus with daggers, maybe get some, get the crit multi and threat range with daggers, or even crossbow, just something like that. But you have to focus on like the kind of the class elements, which kind of make it a little bit more interesting from that perspective. And so with that, I bring you to melee meta. This is my Ranger, Artificer, Bard that I got randomly generated. It is an intelligence-based build. It's also a Warforged. When I do the randomizers, what I do is I put all of them on the screen and I let the chat vote on which one to pick, and they almost always pick the Warforged option because they're so nice to me. Warforged is actually not too bad here, however, because I can take Adamantine Body, and usually if you're playing on Hardcore League, you can use the Dark Hunter to get medium armor to take less damage from traps. However, Warforged don't get medium armor, so instead I use Adamantine Body and I went big on full plate, which just made the most sense to me in the moment. So I actually have a reasonable amount of physical and a magical resistance rating on this character. So yeah, intelligence-based, only, I think I'm 21, yeah. This character is also the character I used to get all of the treasures on Hardcore League, as funny as that sounds. But yeah, I got all the treasure on this character, which is hilarious. So since I'm an intelligence-based character, who's Ranger, Bard, and Artificer, my Disable Device and my Search actually kept up pretty much the entire time. But not just that. Because I'm a Ranger, Bard, and Artificer, I also get... intelligence hit out of Artificer for 3 levels. Bard gives me Focusing Enchant for an extra +1 to skills. Ranger gives me Wild Instincts for plus 10 insight to listen and spot, so my listen and spot were actually reasonably high. And most importantly, is some of the Bard feats. One of the Bard abilities you get is Bardic Inspiration for an extra plus 4 to all skills. All told, these things combined with I think I have I have 28 use magic device. I can actually cast greater heroism on myself as well. So my character is able to get an extra plus 9 to all of my skills. And that's not even including my items and stuff that I can swap in. So overall, this character is very, very good at disabling traps. And it's something I've found quite good. 3 levels of Artificer, surprisingly useful since it does give you intelligence to hit, which saves you if you can get intelligence to damage in another place, which is pretty nice. And then also Bard, again, just having Bardic Inspiration for 3 levels of Bard is something that I tend to always think about in the back of my mind for Hardcore League, but it turns out having plus 4 to all your skills is really, really good. And you can also add it to all any of your allies if there's somebody who's either a better trapper or somebody else who can do something a little bit better than you. However, outside of that, this character is pretty much stock standard Ranger. Precision, Knight's Training using dual-wielding longswords, Whirlwind Attack, because Whirlwind Attack is very good, the 2-weapon fighting feat line, and yeah, pretty much a standard Tempest Ranger. Here we go. So I got Tempest going up tier 5 of the Tempestry. Unfortunately, I couldn't take Whirlwind or Dervish, so you're missing a little bit of stats here. That's okay. Maxing out with the extra damage, grabbing 1,000 cuts, Dance of Death, and a bunch of the damage here, so I made an absolute breeze to level. Once you get Growing Storm, your character starts to level much, much, much faster because this just adds an extra, 10 damage per strike, which is pretty huge. And then on top of that, you get Dance of Death, which does damage to everything in front of you. And then on top of that, you get access to Exposing Strike. So what you do is you go Growing Storm into Dance of Death into Exposing Strike, and all of a sudden every monster in front of you just dies like right away. It's a very satisfying combination. Now, I did take this ability here, Survivalist. Unfortunately, this doesn't give you physical resistance rating because I'm not wearing light armor, but the hit points are still worth it because 30, or I guess it's 4 points for 30 hit points is a pretty good value overall. I use Renegade Mastermaker because by having Adamantine Body, it gave me Magic Missile immunity, which is always nice. So full immunity to magic missiles, so I never had to worry about having the shield spell or anything up like that all the time. On top of that, I got Repair Amp here. I also got some more physical resistance rating. You get Repair Amp or Repair Spell Power from each of the cores. I got Repair here, and I mostly use like Repair Potions to heal myself actually, which worked out pretty well. Since Warforged gets free fortification and a bunch of immunities, I found myself not really running into a lot of danger, and healing was relatively easy by just like slamming back a potion every once in a while. And then of course Harper Agent, grabbing intelligence to damage, as well as know the angles. I should have respec'd this tree. I think I just leveled it so quickly, I never did. But I should have gotten rid of this because I have intelligence to hit for my weapon, and then just use like, Traveler's Toughness or something else like that. Yeah, and then know the angles here for the extra intelligence, giving me even more damage. Now, initially, I was using some of the War Chanter tree, because War Chanter was pretty good, because I liked, access to stuff like the weapon training for extra imbue dice, Song of Heroism for increased bonuses to like attack and things, getting even more attack from all my allies. And I still think there's something that's good for that. However, I respect a lot of that towards the end to put points into here to grab advanced sneak attack, the extra fortification bypass, and the +1 competence bonus to critical threat range. So, there's a lot of like swapping around that I did some testing out with that. Oh, I forgot also my character's a Storm Singer, not a regular Spell Singer. I didn't use anything in the Storm Singer tree, unfortunately. One of the better options you can get out of Storm Singer is up here, the Storm Singer's Inspiration. So when you inspire, you can get your Lightning Strike on your melee attacks. It's pretty good. The problem is, it needs 4 levels of Storm Singer, and I only had 3, so I couldn't take it, unfortunately. Thank you, randomly generated character. And the rest of the trees didn't really kind of add up and do anything super special. I got a couple good items. Red Fens was very nice to me by giving me the Bracers of the Claw. I got the Crown of Butterflies here from Feywild, which is pretty nice because Crown of Summer gives you 10 melee power, which is very helpful during the leveling process for characters. I got the Umbral Soul Docent. I ripped it out of Sharn, which is very good because it's got Repair Amp plus a whole bunch of really strong defensive stats. And then for some reason, both my swords disappear. I don't know what's causing this bug. I think it's like a Rune Arm bug because I'm a dual-wielding Artificer and the game really doesn't like that. But my secondary weapon disappears. So it's weird. I can like weapon swap and then put my swords back on and now they'll appear. So I got the dual-wielding Nightforge Avenger Blades. If you're wondering why I'm using Nightforge Avenger Blades, it's because they have a +2 critical threat chance. So they crit 14 to 20 times 4, which is very, very good for the leveling process because I'm constantly critting for times 4 damage, which is really nice. And other than that, I think I just have a lot of mundane stuff. Intelligence, Disable Device stuff, Sheltering Necklace. I got a Feather Falling Cloak with Wisdom, Con, Life Sealed Belt, not bad. Intelligence 6. I guess I don't even need this one because this doesn't do anything. So that's great. So I can take this off entirely. No, it's Intelligence 5. Oh, it's 1 extra intelligence. Not bad. Dex with Repair Amp. I don't need this. I guess the Dex is not bad. Sheltering 16 with Seeker. I guess I just want the Seeker on here. Key Lock Ring. Great for Disabled Device. And then apparently I had the Hurricane Insignia. I got this out of Temple of Elemental Evil. So a lot of the gear that I use randomly picked up. Oh, Grumbling Gloves. Ooh, Umber Brim. Oh, that's such a good item. I should be using that. Anyway, but yeah. So if you want to make your own randomly generated character and have some fun with it, you can. I've been doing this every hardcore, and it's been a huge blast. I've made tons of randomly generated characters. Lots of other people have as well. So now you have access to the tool. So make sure you bookmark it. Link in the description if you want to get access to the random character tool here. It's, again, great tool. You can randomize anything you want. Also, we post notes for when there's new features and other things. And yeah, you just kind of slam it up and then hit that random. So you can be like, oh, what am I going to play today? I'm going to play, you know, a Tiefling Warlock Blightcaster with a 16 Charisma who puts 30 points in Tainted Scholar and a lot of points in Blightcaster. Nature's Warrior? Why? I have no idea. Or let's just say, hypothetically, you're like, oh man, I don't know what class I want to play, but I know I want to play some type of melee, so I want to play either... I can't decide. One of these sounds pretty good. Maybe I'll try Sacred Fist. I don't know. One of these sounds good. Then you start hitting randomize and be like, oh, you know what? You can just look at it and be like, let's see, Paladin, or maybe you click it once. You're like, okay, Fighter. It says Human Fighter. I'm going to play a Human Fighter. You don't have to you can disregard the stats. You can do whatever you want. So, as I said, have fun with it. Enjoy this tool. And who knows? Maybe too many people will use it and it'll crash, which would also be kind of funny. But I don't think that would actually happen. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day. And don't die out there because dying is bad.